Hey, JK here. I want to thank you for sharing part of your day with me. For day 7 of 30 teams in 30 days, we're going to be heading to Hollywood for the first time in the series to talk about the 4th best team in the AL West, the Los Angeles Angels. They had a 73-89 record and a negative 90 run differential. I don't think it would be a surprise to anyone if I told you that Ohtani led in all offensive categories and all pitching categories, except for 4: doubles, games started, innings pitched, and strikeouts. Hunter Renfroe had more doubles than him. There was a tie between Reid Detmers and Patrick Sandoval for games started, and Reid Detmers took innings pitched and strikeouts. One more strikeout than Ohtani. We are going to now talk about the other star of the Angels. The star that was there long before Ohtani, Mike Trout. His decline over the past few years has been very frustrating, not only as a fantasy fan, but also just as a baseball fan. When he came up in 2011, 2012, he was a rock star. Yes, he went back down and then came back up, but let's not forget how quickly he rose to stardom. He was first overall in fantasy picks. He was the #1 player in the league for how many years? It was crazy. Multiple MVPs and not even able to sniff a playoff series victory. Mike Trout played 82 games this past year, and let's be real, he hasn't been the same. So this past year, he put mediocre numbers up. Not bad, but the fact that Mike Trout was not putting up Mike Trout numbers, we have to look at it as mediocre and or disappointing. Hopefully he'll continue to get healthier, because I mean he did play in half the games last year. It's better than none, but hopefully he'll continue to get healthier, and maybe we'll see him at least have another Albert Pujols-esque end of his career as he just ramps it up a little bit. Now, we all realize he's coming to the end of his career. There won't be as many games played. There won't be as many star-studded SportsCenter top 10 plays, but the Millville Meteor is going to strike again, and I'm confident in that. Hopefully I can maybe get him, for a discount in some of my drafts, because I would like to see what he has left in the tank, because I'm sure Trout has some left in the tank. And if he can stay healthy, if he can stay out of his own way, I think he'll put up another decent season. But, decent for Trout is really good for someone else. So maybe a discounted really good season. Speaking of really good season, that is not what Brandon Drury had. Brandon Drury has bounced around the league, played for a few different teams, including my Yankees, and it hasn't really gone well. However, in 2022, he was having a great start to the season through actually the first 92 games with the Cincinnati Reds. He was then traded to the Padres, and it was not good. So the Padres said, hey man, you cannot help us anymore, we're letting you go. So then he was signed with the Angels. And 2023 started off really bad too. He was batting .179 until a fateful day, April 24th, he had a 3-for-4 game that raised his batting average to .211, and from that point on, it never fell below .224, and it got as high as .278. I think the biggest issue for Drury was that he needed to improve his walk rate. He's not the greatest walker in the world. He strikes out a good bit, but when he gets a hold to the ball, it's going to go. There was also some protection in the lineup in Cincinnati that he did not have in San Diego. Now you might say, whoa, San Diego has a pretty good group of guys. Well, they sold a few off. There was one that was like cited for PED use. But in any case, I believe the young talent in Cincinnati was better for Drury because they looked up to him. He could advise them, mentor them, and again, I just think it was a better situation for him. However, Drury did produce. He had Ohtani, he had Trout, Rengifo, which we'll talk about in a minute. So he had a few guys, and the best part about Drury is he can play first, second, third, and outfield. So he is a utility guy. He's useful, but he's not going to be a frontline guy. He'll definitely be a stash and plug type of guy. So if you need someone for an off day, or say someone went down and it's just a short 10-day span, Drury could absolutely play for you. However, his 2022 season, the first 92 games, probably not going to get that again. It would be great if we did, but unfortunately we probably won't. Another guy I'm hoping that comes back to full strength is Taylor Ward, the outfielder for the Angels, who had his year ended last year being hit with a pitch in the face and breaking multiple bones. He is on a few of my teams, and I'm looking forward to his ability to really step up in the place of Ohtani being gone. Now, I'm not saying he's going to replace him. I'm not going to say he's going to put the same numbers up. I don't think anyone could put the same numbers up. But he is going to have to do something to help that lineup, because he is going to have an injury-riddled Trout, as we've talked about before. He's going to have some other guys who are on their decline. CJ Cron at first. Rengifo is a good young player. We're going to talk about him in a second. Rendon, who just recently said that baseball wasn't his top priority, which I don't think a job should be a top priority. However, when you're making that much money, it should definitely be like A1, you know? Obviously family, God, whatever you believe in first. But your job, especially making that much money, definitely be up pretty high. In any case, Taylor Ward is someone we want to see coming back and really producing like he was showing out to be. Unfortunately, the injury last year stopped him, so maybe getting back in the box could be a little scary for him, but let's hope that he comes back, he's doing good, and helps my fantasy team. Now, I've mentioned him twice, Luis Rengifo. This guy really just, in my opinion, came on out of nowhere. However, looking at his numbers in 2022, 2023 was just a repeat. However, he did improve his walk rate and actually added 20 more walks in 3 less games. In 2022, he had 17 walks. In 2023, he had 41. Those 41 walks were also half of his strikeouts, 82. However, that wasn't in a full season because his season ended early because of a biceps tear. With second, third, and outfield eligibility, Rengifo is definitely going to be a hot commodity this year because of his utility, but also because he's going to be hitting top of the lineup. He won't be as scary without Ohtani, but I still think he's going to be productive. These next 2 guys are pretty young. However, if the Angels have anything to do with it, they are going to have long, illustrious, productive careers like this guy named Trout. Logan O'Hoppe is the catcher, and he had pretty good on-base percentage when he was in college. Did a little more of the getting on base, making sure he worked counts. However, in the big leagues, he's shown some power. He did have a labrum tear, able to recover from that, but has shown power before and since. So that is good news. Definitely could be a catcher option for you. Next, Nolan Schanuel. I think I said that name right. He showed really good patience at the plate in his 29 games up in the major leagues that were only 6 weeks removed from him being drafted. So in 6 weeks, he jumped all the leagues below major leagues and was able to have a taste of crumpet or a cup of coffee in the major leagues. And he had more walks and strikeouts, so that's great. He is going to be a first baseman or outfielder depending on Cron and his injuries and or what's going on in the outfield. We know Trout's probably going to be hurt. Taylor Ward could or could not have some lingering effects from getting hit in the face. Schanuel is not going to knock the cover off the ball, but he's definitely going to have the opportunity to put some runs up. He does a heck of a job at getting on base and moving around the base pass, so hopefully he'll be able to set the table per se, get some runs around, and be a productive player for the Angels in the midst of kind of rebuilding or recovering from the loss of Ohtani. As we transition to pitching, there's a lot of negativity and a whole lot of regression here. Ohtani obviously was their best pitcher. However, the biggest improvement came from Griffin Canning. His 2022 to 2023, remarkable. Mainly because he didn't play in 2022 because of a back injury. So his 2023 looked great. Literally anything's better than nothing. However, first person I want to talk about, Patrick Sandoval. His ERA went from 2.91 to 4.11. Walks went up, strikes went down, and his pitches per inning and his pitches per game went up. If you're going to overexert yourself, at least make sure you're getting productive outs. Make sure you're getting the most out of your pitches. If you're not throwing strikes, you're just throwing balls, you're getting people on base, you are wearing yourself out, and you're not giving yourself a good spot to put your defense in. Patrick Sandoval, you played yourself. You played the Angels. You're not that good. Talking about playing yourself, Tyler Anderson. With the Dodgers in 2022, he had a 2.57 ERA. With the Angels, it is a 5 4.43. He had 30 more walks in 2023, 20 less Ks in 2023, a third of the quality starts from 2022 to 2023. But wait, there's more. This is actually icing on the cake. If you have followed any of Tyler Anderson's career, you know that he pitched for the Colorado Rockies at one point in time. That means half of your games are started in Colorado and the other half wherever you're playing. Well, in 2018, some of those stats were better in Colorado than with the LA Angels. Some of those include wins, one more win. Innings pitched, 35 more innings pitched for the Rockies in Colorado. Now, get this. The walks weren't great, but this is where it's going to get better. His ERA in Colorado was 0.6 less than what it was in 2023 with the Angels. And his whip, even with those 40 extra walks, was 0.16 less in Colorado than in LA. Talk about getting played. Yeah, the Angels got played. Oh, God, they got played. Next guy we're talking about, it's a guy I'm actually really excited about. I really like him. I think he is lights out at times. Reed Detmers. However, his ERA in 2022 was 3.77. His ERA in 2023 was 4.48. That's not good. Overall, his stats didn't take a huge dip. A few more home runs, few more walks. However, 20 more innings pitched, he was able to find 46 more strikeouts. So that's definitely a positive. Now, his opponent batting average also dropped to almost 250. That is not what you want. Not at all. But I still have confidence in Reed Detmers. He's going to be a frontline guy for the Angels. He's going to be getting strikeouts. He obviously has shown that, but he's got to limit the walks. The last pitcher we're going to go any in-depth about is Griffin Canning. These numbers are from 2021 compared to 2023 because he missed 2022 because of a back injury. He did start 9 more games. He won 2 of those 9 games. He pitched 65 more innings. Now, naturally, in 65 more innings, you give up more hits, more home runs, and more walks. However, he improved Ks. He lowered his ERA by 1.3, lowered his whip by 0.24, and lowered his opponent batting average by 20 points. Those are all wins in my book. I'm excited to see how he's going to do. Hopefully his back doesn't creep back up on him and prevent him from pitching like he should. Clayton Kershaw. My goal for him is to likely be maybe a 2 or 3 pitcher in that rotation. I don't think that's going to be a lot to ask of him. However, the bullpen is going to have way too much to ask of them, as they are having a guy come back from Tommy John surgery, a guy come back from completely imploding the second half of the season, and really just not a whole lot of stable guys. Jose Quijada is the pitcher that tore his UCL and had to have Tommy John surgery. Carlos Estevez is a guy that was great for the first part of the season and then fell flat on his face. Their other guy, Chris Davinsky, is gone. I really think they're going to have Jose Soriano in the high leverage type situations, but I don't even know if they're going to have any of those. I'm really not confident or comfortable using anyone from that bullpen, even though they did stack a few arms in there. We'll get to them in a second, but maybe Estevez will be the guy I go with if I am kind of scraping the bottom of the barrel there, because I don't see a whole lot of promise from this Angels team. 2 of the arms they brought in were from Cleveland, Zach Plesac and Adam Cimber. Both of those guys could be starters or very well could be relievers and rack up some innings. I don't really have confidence in any of them. I would have more confidence in Cimber than Plesac, strictly because Plesac's 2023 was awful. Another arm they brought in was Robert Stevenson from Tampa Bay. Now, anyone who plays for Tampa Bay and literally goes anywhere else, their magic goes away. Like their pitching just goes. Now, I'm sure there's someone saying, well, what about David Price? Okay, well, he was an anomaly. There we go. Because I can say, well, what about Chris Archer? That was a terrible trade for the Pirates in any case. But I'm glad it got Glasnow out of Pittsburgh. Point being, I'm really not comfortable with any of the arms they're bringing in. And if you're going to go with someone who doesn't play for the Angels. Now, there are a few guys they brought in the outfield. Aaron Hicks. As a Yankees fan, I don't like that. And also Willie Calhoun. Hicks can hit you home runs or literally strike out, and that's all he does. Willie Calhoun can steal some bases, right? I think. Well, the departures are a whole heck of a lot more hurtful than the arrivals will be in their help because they lost Ohtani. Catcher Max Stassi, who wasn't great offensively but was decent defensively, and David Fletcher. Literally a guy that I fell in love with a few years ago because he was versatile, he was productive, and I don't know, he fell off the face of the earth. So I'm sad just for them that he's going away. Fantasy-wise, there's much more appeal on the offensive side as you do have Trout. You also have Rengifo, who has utility to play around the outfield and on the infield. I do hope Taylor Ward is going to be looking better than he did last year, pre-broken face. Shanuel should get some time, both in the outfield and at first, with Crone probably being injured at some point in time. I don't know if he's going to be the guy for you at this point in time. Logan O'Hoppe is going to show some promise behind the plate, but again, not necessarily right this second, even though he doesn't have much of any competition. Pitching-wise, Reed Detmers, the guy you want out of that rotation. He's going to get strikes. He is probably going to pitch the longest into games, and probably also give up the most runs. Actually, no, wait. Tyler Anderson's giving up the most runs, so he's going to give up the second most runs. Also, Griffin Canning is going to be able to give you some good stuff. I just don't know how long. Their bullpen has very little to offer, as I would literally only go for Carlos Estevez. And that's kind of bottom of the barrel, like last tier type of closer, because I don't see the Angels winning a lot. My hope for this team is strictly that Mike Trout gets back to Mike Trout numbers. There's only one undefeated, and that's Father Time, and it's catching up with Trout. I don't know if he's going to be able to get back to 75% of what he was. I would love to see him if I can steal him maybe in a third round if he could, but not holding my breath. So let's hope that this pitching rotation is put together by enough glue and string that they can at least get to 500. Well, that's it for the Ohtani-less LA Angels. We're going to be moving north to Washington tomorrow and talking about the Seattle Mariners, who were third in the AL West. This is Jake Aiken, and now I thank you for sharing part of your day with me.